Good, Tom. Please.
Do you have their presentation pulled up?
Are you guys waiting on the presentation?
Do y'all have the presentation up there? All right.
You did the stress. I'm getting it. You only have 100 people waiting.
This
No
is
pressure.
American, right?
Yes.
What's the team name?
Team Chris.
Guys, I will be the official timekeeper. Right? At 5, I'll let you guys know 5. I'll give you 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15, blah, 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 blah. I never did break the date, so. I don't know, I just said I didn't, so it's 1 minute, 30 seconds, right? No.
It's 30 seconds, 15.
See, 30, I'll just say. Is that better?
30 seconds, 15 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, wrap it up.
Is it 5 minutes?
8 minutes.
All right. Ready?
Hi, welcome everybody. We are Team Chris, and for our ask portion, we IBL ourselves to answer some of these questions. What is a talented individual? What is fulfillment? Why do we need new approaches to community leadership? How do we determine what's innovative? Do we have to shift to fit in a changing world? When is a leader ready to lead? And why is innovation necessary? This led us to our root challenge.
Our root challenge is highlight and amplify the assets that Latino leaders already possess to create equity within our community. This also led to our NHI Summer Theme, Framing the Mind, a youth community leadership renaissance.
We are also implementing fundamental number 3, celebrate and cherish our Latino culture, and fundamental number 15, freeing your mind to create, which leads us to our investigate process.
So as we dive deeper, from those asked questions, we start asking ourselves things like, what talents are we highlighting, right? Because we want to know what we're trying to focus on. How can we reach Latino leaders and implement our process? And how can we include things like STEM, or as we scroll down, how do we incorporate all talents, not just STEM, we want art, we want music, dance, all that kind of stuff.
So what really causes this? Well, as we were finding this, we started researching, and we found about 8% of Latinos are in anything relating to STEM. This might be engineering or biomedical engineering, specific engineering. And then arts. Arts is about 14.1% across all occupations. So what should we do about this?
Now for the creative step. As my team and I explored the potential outcomes that were stemming from our root challenge, we realized that it was crucial to consider the diverse situations that may arise from the circumstances. For instance, what if we did a festival, and what if we did a raffle?
What if we did a convention? What if we did a talent show?
Then we reflected. What if we did a convention that showcases everyone's talents? How long would the convention last? Would it last about 2 to 3 days? What would be held during the convention? vendors, a talent show. How can this bring people together? People will learn more about everyone's traditions.
So some of the pros of this program in the showcase can be that small South American countries and people from those countries can be lifted up, because a lot of times in American Latino communities, there's no from those small South American countries like Ecuador or Peru. Also, it offers new opportunities for scholarships, so we have kind of an idea where the winner of this talent show that is separate to the showcase would receive a sum of money to go to their education. So some cons is that, it's a very big goal. However, we know that by being ambitious, we're going to be able to make a really big lasting impact somewhere for people of Latino descent to go to for years on.
And that leads us to our plan, the Connecting Hispanics to Resourcefully Inspired Students Convention, also known as the CRIS Convention. This is a convention that will be held every year in order to inspire high school students from the Latino community to uplift their passions, talents, and ideas by giving them a space to showcase what they bring to the convention.
So when it comes to where this will be doing this will be held in a like city, specifically Austin. Around Austin are Austin High School, Hyde Park, Crockett, and William B. Chavez, to name a few. It is a very artsy city and has a large Latino population. So how are we going to do this? There will be an admission ticket around, there will be an admission ticket around $35. There will be lots of volunteers and donors. People who share our mission will donate. There will be vendors from prominent Latino-run communities and booths. The vendors will be paying for their spot to help. The vendors will be paying for a spot, which will go and help funds for our scholarships.
So at the end of our very first convention, we would have to look back and evaluate how it went. So some of the things that we would evaluate is the turnout and how many people bought tickets, admission, like how many organizations got a booth to present their stuff. And one thing we would evaluate is, do we have the capacity to grow? Do we have the capacity to move to new areas and just get more and more and more to keep scaling up? We would also analyze the profit that was made at the booths from the vendors. How can we retain the audience of the vendors? How can we get them to come back? How can we get the people who attended the convention to come back? And overall, we would survey how they enjoyed it, how they feel it amplified their voices and progressed their interests. So we would do that through a post-convention survey.
So just going back to that Austin part, why we chose Austin is Austin's really culturally rich city. Also, UT is like one of the top 10 schools, I believe, for engineering. They have the Crockett School, awesome. A little bit of Austin, I myself love the place. But also, they have South by Southwest events there. They host a lot of like conventions for arts, STEM, all that kind of stuff. And I know the first thing you might think is that it's a competing convention, right? You think people would want to go to South by Southwest instead of us. But that's not the case. See, conventions, they attract convention kind of people, right? You go to South by Southwest for STEM, and those same people could come to our convention for STEM as well. Also, and same thing for art as well. And then also for STEM conventions kind of stuff. Have you ever been to science fair, right? Love science fair. It's also kind of a job fair, especially as you get in higher tiers, right? So this can kind of serve as kind of like a job fair when we reach the higher levels of the STEM convention.
The reason we chose a convention is because we wanted to be able to showcase Latino interests and passions throughout our community. And I feel like this convention would be a proactive way to do it because that way these people could come to this convention and show what they got, and everybody could be able to express themselves in a way that they feel is they feel they are able to.
So just overall, that would, I would say solve our challenge of amplifying interests and ideas and passions in the Latino youth.
And the National League don't come on up.
You're spying. Oh, you're not. You are. I'm gonna call Louise. Go.
That's so
Hello everyone, my name is Imana and we are the Gold Diggers, G-O-A-L, as is gold, and not to be confused with gold. And this is our presentation for the final round of prompts.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalia, and basically the prompt that we were giving, we basically summarized it. The NHI aims to provide innovative, resourceful, compassionate, and principled leaders in the Latino community by investing in talented young people like everyone here today. As the world approaches, NHI must develop new approaches to community leadership, harnessing their talents and passions. And this leads to our initial thoughts.
Hi, my name is Sophia Garza-Sabrelli, and we started out our process by breaking down the prompt, which to us, what stood out to us was that it's all about investing Latino youth, developing new approaches, and giving back to our community. We were a little confused at first. Is this prompt about recruitment? We focus on the mission of NHI, but then we asked ourselves about the terminology in the prompt. What does new approaches refer to? What is the forefront of new development? And then we asked questions about ourselves. What does NHI value? What do we value? What kind of leadership do we have here? Who are the young leaders? And from there, we started to get to the root of the situation. We asked, how can NHI continue their mission? And from there, we kept modifying our questions. Then we asked, what is the best way to encourage Latino youth to carry our legacy into our future? From there, we incorporated the new generation. It's all about legacy, right? We modified the question a little bit more, and that led us to our root question.
In the end, our root question ended up being, what is the best strategy to encourage the next generation of Latinos to carry our legacy?
Hello, my name is Julie, and in order for my team and I to move on to the next stage of the IBL process, we had to investigate what exactly it is that we needed to understand. These are the following questions we had to ask ourselves. How do we harness talent, skill, and passion? How did NHI work in the past? How was it created, NHI that is? What is the next step to continue growth? How do we search for these new talents? How were current NHIers brought here and encouraged? And does NHI have a program in South America?
Hi, Mark. During our search to find out, we had a reference to two fundamentals. First one is fundamental number 3, celebrate and cherish our Latino culture. Transmit our Latino values and paradigms to more people in our community, increases support to our Latino leaders among the Latino international community.
I'm Michael, and another fundamental we reflected on was number 15, free your mind to create. Now, what does that mean? It means to find a way which can help us connect our Latino community use and adapt our current resources to approach the next generation of Latino leaders.
And after that, we needed to go to our creation process, and we wanted to know the best way to approach all the young Latino community. And we wanted to go to the Latino countries where there is a wide variety of young Latino youth. And the first step was the in-person recruitment. We talked about hosting meetings in schools. And then we talked about bringing NHI to Central and South American countries where there is no representatives. And then we talk about the online programs in other countries outside the United States where there can't be presence of NHI in person. And after that, we talk about the recruitment tour, a recruitment tour of different representatives of NHI that will hit the big cities in each country and will provide engaging meetings to parents and students.
Hi, my name is Lucy, and for reflect, women continuous and is long lasting. Does it engage about the Latin community? Does it benefit from a community directly? Does it employ resources from a community? And is it accessible?
So after we reflected, we had to come up with a plan. We needed a purpose for this plan. The purpose was to promote NHI to students so that they participate in programs. Specifically, we wanted to target students in Latino countries that maybe NHI lacks representation from. Think of countries in Central and South America. So we came up with our framework. Our framework is to establish online programs in these countries. 1 to 2 years where we invest resources to give students the opportunity to experience NHI. So after we have these programs, we would evaluate. We would look at the quantifiable data. How many students are participating? How many plan to come back and participate next year? After we look at the data, we would see what countries we want to invest our resources in. With these resources, we would actually bring in-person programs to those countries. The time would be around 2 years to evaluate what countries we want to focus on.
Some of the requirements for this plan would include having former NHI participants speak about their experiences in the programs to the international students. The budget would be around $5,000 for promotion, and then for the first in-person program, it would be around $95,000. Some important dates to remember would be around January to May 2024, the promotions for the online program would begin. And then to June to July of 2024, online programs would begin in the new countries. August to December 2024, promote bringing the programs to in-person countries. Spring of 2025, the prep for the Great Debate would begin. And then summer of 2025, in-person, in certain countries program would begin. Some personnel, online participants will be unlimited, and in-person participants will be to be determined.
But wait. We can't just keep throwing around plans. How do we know whether or not our plan is unique? Let's ask ourselves 3 questions. Firstly, we have to ask ourselves, is our plan significant and are there current harms within our status quo? Our plan is significant because we are bringing community equity building to underrepresented communities. Next, are there current status quo harms? Which is completely true. Because if we don't propose a plan, these harms might cease to exist in our culture, which makes us who we are. The next question is whether or not our plan is inherent, in which the answer is an obvious yes. Because there's no agent or actor that is currently doing what we are doing. That makes us unique, that makes us solve. The last question, whether or not we can solve, which the answer is an obvious yes. And that's because, once again, we are bringing community equity building to underrepresented communities. But lastly, let's look at the quantifiable data. Let's evaluate, in which we can look at the numbers. Because we can look at the number of people who are recruited, areas that can go from online to in-person, as well as the university partners and sponsors.
Hi, my name is Lee, and I wanted to talk about the connection that we found between all 4 challenges. We did an IBL within the IBL. We were talking about how 1 and 2, they were the same prompt, were about blending old and the new paradigms. Number 3 was about creating new paradigms, and number 4 was about how we're going to execute this. This looks a lot like fundamental number 12. Anyways, this is our whole thought process, all of it. And here's our pit of irrelevance.
I present to you our best friend during this time, the pit of irrelevance. Even though some of the ideas we came up with are really good, maybe they were off topic, maybe they were too broad, but it's important to note that these are fundamental for us finishing our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, y'all, it is 5:37.